Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Marina Grossu from Washington, D.C. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Praying for the people affected by war atrocities in Ukraine, Palestine, Israel, and other regions of the world, Pope Francis asked the people to pray for the nations involved in war and for their leaders. During his Wednesday general audience, the Holy Father prayed that the Lord may sow the seed of peace in the hearts of the authorities of the countries. Referring to global issues such as the Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza and Russia's war in Ukraine, the Pope condemned the availability and usage of weapons, claiming that they create distrust and misuse of resources. The International Court of Justice is currently holding hearings on accusations of genocide in Gaza, brought by South Africa in December. Israel is defending itself against these allegations, with the hearings focusing on the South Africa's request for emergency measures to suspend Israel's military actions in Gaza. The case claims that Israel's war against Hamas militants violates the 1948 Genocide Convention. On Wednesday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken engaged in talks with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah, focusing on advancing plans for Gaza's post-war recovery, with a key emphasis on tangible steps toward a Palestinian state. Israel's extensive air, ground, and sea operation has resulted in the tragic loss of over 23,200 Palestinian lives, with approximately two-thirds of the victims being women and children, as reported by health officials in Gaza. It has forced the displacement of around 85% of Gaza's 2.3 million inhabitants, leaving many without homes to return to. Raphael Thattil was installed as the fourth major Archbishop of the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church on Thursday at Mount St. Thomas in Kerala, India. In an exclusive interview with Shalom World News, the new head of the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church said that his mission is to seek the lost sheep.
Healing ministry is very much important in the ministry of the pastors. And as the newly elected mayor, Archbishop of the Syro-Malabar Church, going back to the background, this ministry is to be very powerful. And I would like to tell you my policy with regard. While I was the manager of St. Thomas College, the one who taught economics told me the most uneconomic parable of Bible is the lost sheep.
Oh.
And I said, that is the economics of the mystery of salvation. Okay. Nobody shall not be lost. Every should be brought back. So, I may not be able to give so much for the people who stand with me, because they are already with us.
Okay. Nice.
But at the same time, those who are not with us, not only with the liturgical issue, otherwise also there are a lot of people have a lot of grievance against the policies of the church or the ministries rendered by the church. So here I would like to tell you, my policy will be to go behind the lost sheep.
A report on Catholic persecution released by the Pontifical Foundation Aid to the Church in Need revealed that over 130 Catholic priests and religious were either arrested, kidnapped, or murdered in 2023. This indicates an increase from 124 recorded in 2022. These are the confirmed cases. However, the number could be higher since some countries' reliable information is difficult to obtain. Nigeria registered the highest number of murders and kidnappings last year. The two most authoritarian nations that have imprisoned religious leaders and priests are Nicaragua and Belarus. Their actions are intended to punish the Church for speaking out against injustices and violations of human rights, or just for attempting to function freely. Apart from Nigeria, kidnapping cases of priests were also registered in Mali and Burkina Faso. Ecuador's leading prelates have urged the nation's people to unite for peace and brotherhood in the face of a gang violence upsurge. The Bishops' Conference of Ecuador said that violence will not prevail and urged people not to panic or to be swayed by social media. The unprecedented violence erupted in the country after Adolfo Macias, the country's most wanted prisoner, escaped from jail. In an attack on a live TV studio in the capital, Quito, on Tuesday, at least 10 persons were killed, including 2 police officers. Meanwhile, President Daniel Noboa announced a 60-day state of emergency and granted the army the authority to patrol the streets and oversee the prisons. The Ohio House of Representatives overruled Governor DeWine's veto on a bill prohibiting children from undergoing transgender interventions. The bill, titled Saving Adolescents from Experimentation Act, also contains the Save Women's Sports Act, which prohibits males from engaging in women's sports. The House voted 65 to 28 along party lines to overturn the veto. The bill will now be taken up by the Ohio Senate, where Republicans have a supermajority. Belarusian state television reported on Wednesday that a group of Ukrainian children who recently arrived from occupied Ukraine is undergoing training with the Belarusian military. Both Ukraine and the Belarusian opposition have raised concerns, alleging that it is a strategy to indoctrinate them as pro-Russian. The report specifically mentions 35 children from the Russian-occupied Ukrainian town of Atrocities, sent to the eastern Belarusian city of Mogilev. A Yale University study recently revealed that over 2,400 Ukrainian children aged 6 to 17 have been brought to Belarus from regions partially occupied by Russian troops. The Belarusian opposition has urged the International Criminal Court to hold Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko and his government officials accountable for their alleged involvement in the illegal transfer of Ukrainian children. Ukrainian authorities are investigating the deportation of these children as a potential act of genocide. The Prosecutor General of Ukraine is also looking into Belarus for the alleged forced deportation of over 19,000 children from occupied Ukrainian territories. A 60-year-old Christian convert in Iran, Mina Kajavi, was sentenced to 6 years in prison for participating in a house church. As per the report, Kajavi was convicted for acting against so-called national security by promoting Christianity. Kajavi, who was arrested in 2020, was sentenced in 2022, had her imprisonment delayed due to a severe car accident. Despite her physical challenges, she has now been ordered to go to Evin prison. Her co-accused, Iranian-Armenian pastor Joseph Shabazian and fellow convert Malik Nazari were both freed much earlier. Meanwhile, human rights organizations are appealing for Kajavi's acquittal and the end of the persecution of Christians in Iran, where Muslim converts are often harassed. The Colombian Ombudsman's Office reported the deaths of 181 rights activists and community leaders in 2023 in the South American country as it battles to halt violence by armed groups. The list of the murdered comprises 160 men and 21 women. The Ombudsman's Office, in its annual report, highlighted the alarming situation faced by individuals dedicated to promoting and safeguarding the rights of communities. Condemning the situation, the Ombudsman, Carlos Camargo Assis, said that at least one person was killed every 2 days in the country last year. These killings are taking place despite President Gustavo Petro's quote-unquote total peace program. However, the number is 16% lower than the 215 murders recorded in 2022. As the parliamentary elections are nearing, the president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Pakistan called for the repeal of the country's blasphemy law and asked the leaders to respect minorities. The parliamentary election in Pakistan is set for February 8th. Speaking in an interview with Crux News, Bishop Sansam Shukhardin said that the electoral platform ought to address the issues of Pakistan's religious minorities. Citing the long-standing grievance of Pakistan's minority populations against their exclusion from political sphere, the prelate said that Christians should be elected on their own merit. He also added that the candidates contesting in the elections need to consider the concerns of the youth. The 51st Annual March for Life will be held on Friday, January 19th at the National Mall in Washington, D.C., proclaiming the gift of human life and human dignity. The organizers aim to support ongoing legislative efforts to restrict abortion until the culture of life returns to the United States. The event will commence with a noon rally at the mall's Washington Monument and 10th Street and follows a different route from the previous year, but ends between the U.S. Capitol and the Supreme Court building. The theme of this year is pro-life, with every woman, for every child. The event will also feature a March for Life expo, a pro-life advocacy workshop, and a rose dinner gala. As the number of kindergarten students has plummeted due to low birth rate and other factors, and many kindergartens are closing as a result, a red light has been turned on at Korean Catholic early childhood education institutions. The latest survey shows that the Catholic Church in South Korea has shuttered about 36% of its kindergarten schools and daycare centers due to low birth rate and an aging workforce. The report released by the Early Childhood Education Subcommittee of the Korean Catholic Bishops' Conference reveals that the number of church-run kindergartens and childcare centers fell from 345 in 2017 to 212 in March of 2023. Jimmy Lai, a 76-year-old British citizen, is facing so-called national security charges in China. His trial is anticipated to be lengthy and has gained international attention. The Hong Kong media tycoon and pro-democracy activist has faced legal challenges due to his involvement in pro-democracy protests and his critical stance towards the Chinese government. To delve deeper into the case, online legal news service Jurist interviewed Mark Sabah, the UK and EU director at the Committee for Freedom in Hong Kong Foundation. Mark said that Lai's trial in Hong Kong is a predetermined sham trial, part of a larger pattern eroding freedoms. It highlights concerns about the lack of legal independence, the impact of the national security law, and suggests that Lai's conviction is essential for the authorities to discourage dissent. He expressed concern for the broader implications on freedom and democracy in Hong Kong and sees the trial as a symbol of the city's slow decline under Chinese control. And those are your latest headlines. Join us again tomorrow for more. You can also visit us at swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.